Welcome back. Great to have you with us on The Full View. Now, the rate of unemployment could be deemed a crisis in South Africa. One of the agencies, the state financier meant to help the Industrial Development Corporation, released results and reported back to the public today. Bad debts or loans that are simply not expected to be repaid jumped up to more than 3 billion rand. That's more than double what we saw in the previous financial year. But the IDC did book a profit. To discuss with further, we're joined by the CEO of the Industrial Development Corporation, Geoffrey Qena. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
So starting with unemployment, can I ask your opinion? This is a crisis, certainly. Is it a humanitarian crisis?
Well, it's a very large number. It is very worrisome when we have a large number of our people unemployed, because there's nothing as depressing when somebody does not have employment. It creates dignity for people to come back home, pass through a store and buy simple chips or whatever for their kid. And if people don't have that ability, they lose that sense. So it is indeed worrisome, which is why entities like the IDC are continuously challenged to say, what else can we do? Why should we do that?
Well, looking at those numbers, so manufacturing, that sector lost more than 100,000 jobs in the quarter that we're looking at. As I understand it, a big mandate for you, black industrialists, manufacturing, young upcoming entrepreneurs. Does a figure like that mean your efforts, which are part of government's efforts, are a massive failure?
I wouldn't say they're a massive failure. I would say it's a challenge for us to do more. If you look at our numbers, approximately just under 30,000 jobs will be created from our interventions. That's direct. We don't count the indirect part. But as you say, when you look at those numbers, you can be
30,000 added, 100,000 lost.
Yes, you can be overwhelmed by that. But one has to start. Somebody has to start somewhere. We have given an opportunity to those that ordinarily would not have it. I agree, it's not enough. But everyone has to come to the party. It's not only government, it's not only public sector, state-owned entities, it's everyone's problem. Because some of those are your brothers or your sisters or your neighbors, and we all have to come to the party.
All right, let's look at your overall results. So reporting a profit, but bad debts, seemingly doubling, quite huge. How would you rate the overall results?
I think the overall results are very good. We've made profit. That's a determination that we are self-sustained, that we're sustainable, that we'll be able to continue operations. We've advanced over 15 billion into the economy. We've approved over 16 billion into the economy. We create and or save about 30,000 jobs. We're putting in, of those amounts that we've approved, about 8 billion for black industrialists, creating new entrepreneurs. I accept that the level of impairments has risen, but if you unpack it, that's some of the lumpy transactions. One such is Fosco, which is about 1.8 billion of that. So if you strip that out year on year, we're almost in line. Now, what does that mean for a company like Fosco? That means we need to pay attention to in ensuring that how best...
This is the company you bought from Anglo, which is now dragging
that is Score.
You down.
So we've got another company which is
Fosco.
Fosco is the company that we started. That's the numbers reflected in the impairments. The numbers that we've written off, that's on Score. So Score, where we have about 1.5 billion, which has been written off. But there's after a process where we bought it, we've now introduced, we split it into three. And the two of those three parts, now we have partners, which we will partner with in terms of ensuring that we turn it around. So now that we've reached that milestone, we needed to write off that amount.
Is it a big wake-up call in terms of how discerning you are?
Well, I wouldn't say it's a wake-up call. I mean, when we bought into Score, we knew it was not easy, but we had a sense that this is indeed a very critical entity that needed to be saved in terms of its role into the economy, and one needed to ensure that you steer it into the right direction. And I think with these partners, we are indeed going to that.
There have in the past been concerns about who you're lending to. The Guptas receive passports, suddenly they're beneficiaries of black industrialist programs. Well, you certainly lent to them. There's been so much fallout. Do you believe the IDC has explained enough, done enough there?
Well, if you look on the one transaction, which was only one transaction, by the way, it was 250 million in 2010. What is outstanding is 37.5 million, which
and you're trying to get that back?
Yes, we're trying to get that back, and we're going to the court. But if you look at the black industrialists, anybody can access that. In fact, we can access our website, and you can have a site of who we funded. Not only black industrialists, anybody. So we've made a commitment mid last year, and we've kept to that commitment because we want to ensure that we're transparent.
I think that was from 2017 April. Yeah. So you have to announce who you'll be lending money to. The IDC's hands clean before that? We're
very clean. I can say that with my hand in my heart that we've been clean. We will make mistakes, but we're very clean as far as I'm concerned. We are conscious that we are dealing with state money, that the taxpayers' money, so we have to ensure that we run a clean ship. In fact, we also go out and we borrow, and when you borrow, there's that obligation that you have to run your affairs very cleanly.
Okay, so 30,000 jobs, but you're spending billions. What's the focus now? Who are going to be the beneficiaries?
Well, for the jobs, those are the direct jobs. Because remember, when we look at these investments, there's other indirect jobs. But we count direct jobs because we don't want to cloud issues. Otherwise, we all get confused in the process in trying to do those. So going forward, we all have to continue to ensure that we look for those industries or those companies that have an ability to create more jobs relative to the others, directly or indirectly. So that's what we will continue to push on. Yeah.
What do you think? An economist recently said something, and I've often thought about it, that maybe it's a lie that young people should start businesses, that small companies are creating the jobs, because if you look at the failure rate, it's actually huge. And I'd love to know your opinion just based on where you've put money and where it's worked, because you know, how do you do that? How do you run a company without having gone through the corporate ladder, gaining experience along the way? How can we expect you to do that?
You know, when one looks at our impairments and our failure rates, it runs across the board. I mean, it doesn't mean if you are a new entrant, necessarily you will fail. We've had some of the existing ones who we thought these ones are safe, they know what they're doing, but the environment they find themselves, they fail. So what we do over and above, particularly for the new entrants, we provide a technical support through a number of partners that we have, particularly for the youth who are startups, but it doesn't mean necessarily if you're a youth, others might be going to their second or their third businesses. So we look at who are the startups and what other support do they need, and then based on that, then we'll provide that support. Because we know it's not only the financing that is a trick, but it's also the technical support that comes with it.
All right, and I hope we can chat small businesses in future. Thank you very much for your time this evening. The CEO of the IDC, the Industrial Development Corporation, Geoffrey Qena. Bongani?